This week, as you are working on your unit plans, you're going to be taking a look at the 3 types of learning domains. You'll see from your outline, it's the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive is probably what you're most familiar with when it comes to Bloom's. These are the 7 levels: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So remember is the most simple side, all the way up to create being the most complex. And so as you are taking a look at your unit, you want to make sure that you address as much of these as you can. For the cognitive, you should probably be able to come up with something for each of these 6 levels. Alright, so the next one is the affective. This has to do with the emotion, and there are 5 levels. You have receiving phenomena, responding to phenomena, valuing, organizing, and then internalizing. When it comes to receiving phenomenon, this is just a willingness to hear and to listen to others. Responding, not only are the students listening and attending, but they're responding to what others are saying. So it's more interactive. Valuing is when the student starts to attach worth to what is being learned, whether it's a behavior, an object, or a phenomenon. So for example, gardening, beginning to value the purpose behind gardening and working with the earth. Organizing is prioritizing what is valued. So as students gain values, they start to realize, sometimes values might come in conflict with each other. So how do we resolve that? How do they relate to each other? If I want to be able to do something or be able to buy something, then I'm going to have to work in order to be able to get that. So as you look at your lesson, is there opportunities for students to value what they're learning and then organize their learning in ways that make sense to them? And then internalizing values, this is the highest level of the affective domain. And this is just the value system that controls their behavior. So they've come to care about the topic, and it really impacts what they do. As students learn about the Holocaust and the way that, treating other people really matters. So you might see that they are living their life in such a way that they care about other people. Okay, so as you look at your unit, you definitely should have receiving, responding, and valuing, giving students opportunities to learn to value what they're learning. You may not get to that organization and internalizing part, but you should definitely be able to come up with some objectives for the first 3. And then the last type of domain is the psychomotor. So this starts with perception and then building a set, guided response, mechanical or just having a mechanism, complex overt responses, adaptation, and origination. So perception is the most basic. Psychomotor has to do with physical activity, just the ability, a physical skill. So at the perception level, they're able to use their sensory cues to guide physical activity. So it could be, it's cold, I'm going to put a coat on. A set are predetermined actions that are ready to use. So this could be, I want to find out what the temperature is. I know I'm going to have to use a thermometer. Guided response is where they're actually learning a skill by watching, imitating, and trial and error. So just with the temperature, it would be giving students a thermometer, teaching them how to use a thermometer, teaching them how to read the Fahrenheit scale, learning what the cold end of the scale is, the hot end of the scale, what boiling and freezing are. Okay, so those are going to be done in guided response. Mechanism is where they've learned a skill and it can be done automatically. So they're beginning to know how to use a thermometer. You can hand it to them and they know what to do with it. Complex overt response, they're learning a more complex set of skills. So once they know how to use a thermometer and measure in Fahrenheit, they can then take a look at the Celsius side of a thermometer. And so learning how that compares to the Fahrenheit and learning what the cold side and the hot side is. What is the freezing point? What's the boiling point when it comes to Celsius? Adaptation, they're going to modify skills in new ways. So that could be figuring out, if I want to find the temperature of a liquid, if I want to find the temperature of a solid, how can I adapt how I measure temperature of a liquid? And then origination, they're creating in order to solve a problem. So if the thermometer breaks, what can I do to find temperature then? How can I build my own thermometer? And so it's just showing a better understanding of that. So when it comes to your units, perception, what are the senses that the students are going to have to be able to use? For a set and guided response, what's a skill that they're going to learn? To what degree will they need to know that skill? If they're going to be measuring with a ruler, are you going to expect them to stay at that guided, or do you want them to get to that point of being able to automatically use a ruler to measure in inches? Okay, so once again, you're not going to use all of these, but you should at least be able to get to the first 3 to 4. And then, of course, depending on the grade level, you can get up into those more complex psychomotor skills. All right, so hopefully this gives you some more in-depth on the domains. I hope you see that, for each of these domains, you're going to be writing multiple objectives that apply to your unit. They can just be simple statements. They don't have to be written out like our unit objectives.